Hey friends, Shay here. So I'm here with a fun video for you. Today is my best books of 2021 list. I have picked out 10. I feel like they encompassed my reading year and I'm really excited about all of them. I didn't rank these. These are just the 10 books / series that I feel like encompassed my reading in 2021. I tend to do my lists more this way. I did rate them all last year, and that was so hard for me to choose, and I changed that list so many times that I've just decided I'm just going to stick to the list where I feel like these embody my year, and so they are my top 10. So the first one is one that I actually read in December, which is why I always do these lists in January, and that is A Heaven Official's Blessing. I do have a physical copy down here because I wanted the pronunciation guide. This is a Chinese translated light novel. I think they're called Danmei, I believe is the official pronunciation of them. But essentially in this one, we are following Lian, I don't know. And basically this guy is a little bit arrogant and has ascended to godhood for the third time. And when he gets up to heaven, he's made a mess because when he ascended the third time, it basically rattled the heavens and the earth. And so he messed up everybody's temples and they were all mad at him. And he's like, sorry. And so he needs to earn enough pledges or whatever the equivalent is to repair all these things. So he's sent on some missions and it's really just, it's been 800 years since his mortal life. So basically he's sent back down to the mortal world to do all the dirty work that nobody wants to do. But it ends up being much more involved and involving like a big bad. But along the way, he meets this young man named San Lang, and San Lang has their own secrets, and you learn those by the end of this first volume that I've read, because that's all that's out currently. And I'm doing a really bad job at explaining this. I will have a dedicated review coming out of this soon, because I haven't sat down and fully formed my thoughts on it yet. So I'm hoping to do that sometime this weekend. But anyways, this is amazing. 10 out of 10 recommend. The translation is absolutely fantastic. I meant to look up who the translator was. So the translation is by Suika, and then Pengi is the editor. But either way, 10 out of 10 would recommend because the translations are amazing on it. And I belly laughed through this whole thing. And it has a murder mystery kind of feel to it. So yeah, I would recommend. It's so, so good. Next is one that will probably surprise no one, and that is Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. I'm going to include Dawn Shard in this slot as well because they were both fantastic books that go together technically. This is book 4 in the Stormlight Archive. Dawn Shard is kind of the 3.5 in between the two. And we're just continuing the adventures of Kaladin, Shallan, and Dalinar and everybody in Roshar and the fallout of Oathbringer. There's been a bit of a time skip, so some things have changed, and it's just really interesting. This one felt very unique to me. I cried multiple times for multiple reasons in this particular one. We see some characters evolve and step up to the plate, and we see some others face their demons in this particular one, and it was so good. It was so, so good. I love the Stormlight Archive series, and almost any year that these books come out, it will probably make my list because they continually blow me away. Next on the list is Then There Was You by Mona Schroff, another one that I read in January this last year, but this is a book that lives rent-free in my head. We're following a kindergarten teacher. She's left a really bad relationship, and she's lost a baby along the way. This one's a heavy book. It's got triggers. But essentially, she connects with this man who lost a child of his own in a school shooting. And it is emotional. You see them go on a really wild ride and a really wild journey. And you see how these two broken souls learn to come together and learn to communicate with each other. And it is beautiful. It's stunning. Mona Schroff is fast becoming a new favorite author. I quite love what she does, and it's fantastic. Again, 10 out of 10 recommend. Then there was a really fun one. We'll talk about that next. And that is Well Matched by Jen DeLuca. This is April and Mitch's story, if you've been following the series at all. And I had the best time as I read this. I was word vomiting to my friend Melissa, and she word vomited to me as she read it. And it was a fantastic time. We actually got to interview Jen DeLuca about this and about other projects. So I would recommend checking out the interview if you want to get to know Jen a little bit better. But I really enjoyed this read. It's definitely the steamiest of her Ren Fair series thus far. So if you've just, kind of been in the middle about the sexiness of Jen DeLuca's books, try this one. Because, man, she brought her A game. It was I really enjoyed it. This next one's another one that was very emotional and took me by surprise, and that is First Love, Take Two. I went on a whole ramble about this in one of my videos, but essentially this is a second chance romance between a Indian woman who is trying to be a very good Indian daughter and a black man who is trying to live up to his parents' standards. So they had broken up for various reasons. The guy had never gotten over her, and it's been like 5 years since they broke up, and they both end up having to crash at a friend's apartment together for a period of time while they're waiting for places to come together and while they're in the middle of changing some things up in their life. And through the course of this novel, you see them open up. You see how he understands her anxieties and things better than anyone else still these years past, and how they are truly souls that are meant to be. It is so swoony, so beautiful. Would recommend, obviously. And again, it's one that I'm getting teary-eyed thinking about because I have anxiety and my partner knows how to help me with my anxiety better than anybody else. And you see this very clearly on page. Trigger warnings for anything related to anxiety. She does have panic attacks on page, and it's still so well written. Sajni Patel, thank you. I love this book. Let's go back to another fun one, shall we? The next one is Isn't It Romantic by Alyssa K. Adams. I really love this series. This is one that I wasn't expecting to love, honestly, because this is the Russian's story. And the Russian has always been a character I've had a love-hate relationship with the whole way through. But this book ended up being really sweet and really poignant in ways that I wasn't expecting. I probably connected to this one better because I have family members who have immigrated. And so immigration hoops and loops and things I look at differently than other people. So basically they were in a marriage of convenience so that she could come to the US to study. And she just thinks that he doesn't love her, and so she's going to go back home. And so the whole course of the book is him trying to prove his love for her, and it's amazing. I love it so much. Next is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. I am a Sarah J. Maas fan. I like her stuff. I quite liked this book. I know not everybody did. Nesta and Cassian are interesting to read about. Nesta is definitely a prickly heroine, not going to be for everybody, but I really, really loved her story because a lot of what's thrown at her in the first part of the series wasn't her choice, and you see her reacting to that in a way that she needs to, and it's amazing, and I really just enjoyed it. Next is another one where I'm going to kind of talk about the entire series, and that is the Prime Mating Agency series. I married a lizard man, I married a naga, and I married a bird man. I loved all of these. All of these were 5 stars. These all had... My favorite of the 3 so far is definitely I Married a Bird Man. So that's the cover that I'll leave up here. But I really love this series. They are forced to communicate more because you're dealing with different races, and so the communication between the couples is great. The first book does have a little bit of a white savior almost kind of feel to it, so do be aware of that going into the first one. I didn't pick up on it on a first read, but on a second read it's much more visible to me. And then I Married a Naga. Yeah, it's a snake, and I never thought I'd love a snake romance, but I sure did. And then the last one, I Married a Birdman, he's half human, half birdman, like he's a mixed breed. And so he actually has lips, not a beak, things like that. So again, I really enjoyed the series. These are all available on KU. really would recommend reading them. I buddy read them with Breed and Love and Words, Steph from Novelty Corner, and a bunch of other people joined in. I think Tamika and Izzy did as well. But we just had the best time reading these, and we'll probably continue to do so on any other Prime Mating Agency books that come out. But man, I'm loving it. And I'm loving how the Prime Mating Agency is woven in through each of the stories because it's a little bit different each time, and I really, really love it. Next is probably not a surprise to anybody, but The House in the Cerulean Sea. I just did not read it in 2020. I read it in 2021. Everything everybody says about this book is completely true. It is a warm hug of a book, and if you don't think it's a warm hug of a book, I don't know how to convince you because it's amazing and I loved it. So I'm not going to say too much about this one because everybody and their dog has spoken about this one, but essentially we're dealing with an orphanage and a man who has to come in and audit the orphanage and how he falls in love with everyone, including the male proprietor of this orphanage and the kids. And Chauncey is the best character ever. I love him so, so much. And yes, read this book if you haven't. And then last but not least was actually my first read of 2021, and that is Call Me Maybe by Carabao Stone. This is an Audible original. It's a full cast. You have sound effects, everything. It was so well done. I loved it so very much. It lives rent free in my head, and I think about this a lot. This is essentially about a woman who's getting ready to launch her business and her website's down. So she calls IT and she talks to this guy and they hit it off. They end up talking all day while they're working through her problem because it's an essential problem with the software. And so the person on the other end of the line is actually the owner of the company and is trying to fix everything. And it's amazing. I love it. It's a short audiobook. Would recommend. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Call Me Maybe is fantastic. I've become a huge Carabao Stone fan. I read 3 others of her books besides this one in 2021, so would recommend Carabao Stone for sure. Okay, guys, that is my list. My reading year in 2021 was pretty good overall. If you wonder where the manga is, I did a separate list for that, so I will leave that linked for you. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're here just because you love me, again, leave me an emoji that you're feeling about my list this year, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Was it all just a dream, just all in my head?